Well, welcome back to another podcast. Feels like it's been a while since we recorded something, but here we are. Today we're going to get on the phone with Cameron Weddington again and talk about turkey hunting. Yeah, turkey season's right around the corner, so we're going to get a little turkey content here. And we enjoyed talking with Cameron last time, and he had a lot of good information. He's got a lot of experience with turkey hunting, so we can get him on here and have a little talk. Hello?
Hello.
Hey, there he is.
Hey. Yeah, sorry, I was hopping off water.
Oh. And more technical difficulties.
We lost him. All right, well, let's try this again. Hey, well, we'll try it this way.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened. It tried to make me make an account or something.
Oh, well, that's weird. I'm gonna have to look into that. We haven't used it in a while, so
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, I think this will work.
All right.
So, what are you up to today, other than this?
Well, I'm drinking a cup of coffee. We were supposed to be burning today for turkeys, but my burn permit got revoked from the forestry people, so I won't be burning until Monday now. But I don't really know why. It's a little windy, but it's not bad. But they said no burning this weekend. Apparently the fire hazard's too high.
Huh. Well, I guess they're the experts, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take their word for it, because I'd much rather not burn and still have, not start a forest fire in the state.
True. You don't want responsibility for that?
Yeah, I don't want to be the guy that burns half the state, for sure. But it will happen. Hopefully Monday looks really good for burning if they'll let me get a permit then.
There you go. Cool. So this is like turkey habitat stuff?
Yeah, just a prescribed burn. So we've got some new property this year that I'm really excited about. Has a good flock of turkeys, but it's old timber land, and so it's pretty grown up. Hasn't had any type of management on it. They were growing trees. We're trying to grow turkeys. So we've opened up some food plots, and now we're trying to get some prescribed burns. We're hoping to burn a couple 100 acres in different 20-acre blocks. So the bigger the burn, I guess, if you could do one 200-acre burn, but the turkeys aren't going to really use the middle of that. So you're better off doing a bunch of little burns, like 10 to 20 acres.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing that, and then we got the food plots, and just trying to give them every chance they can to raise more poults and make more turkeys.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that seems to be something that a lot of people are interested in these days, and trapping was another one. You said you were getting into that now?
Oh, yeah. I got to go run the traps this morning after I get off the phone with y'all. I had a coon literally touching my trap last night, but he didn't put his paw in it, so he'll live another night, but he'll screw up here in a couple of days.
Oh yeah.
I've caught 18 so far, and that's off of the farm I didn't think had any coons. So
wow.
I'm scared to see what's going to happen when I go in the bottoms where all the coons are supposed to be.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a decent amount there.
Wearing them. Oh, I mean, just think about it. I had one trap that I caught 8 in a row in, and just reset it every night and just kept snagging them.
Wow.
And you think about if a hen was trying to nest anywhere in that area later this spring, there is no way she's having a successful nest with that many nest raiders walking around. I mean, there's no way. They're going to sniff her out.
Mm-hmm.
So I just figure if you can they'll replace themselves pretty quick. But you know, if you can remove them in February, and then I got a depredation permit for March for a private land, and we'll keep nailing them. You know, that you can kind of make a void in the predator landscape on your property, and then the turkeys might have more successful nests. I've heard good things, so
Yeah.
I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah. There you go. It sounds like you made a pretty good dent already. So.
Yeah, it slowed down some, which I take as a good sign. At first, I was like, "Holy crap, I'm never going to get ahead of these jokers." But there's 2 more on camera I have, so I'm using trail cameras to kind of keep up with them. I got 2 more I know I need to catch, and then we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, cool.
But yeah, trying to make more turkeys before I start hunting turkeys.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
For those who are listening to the podcast right now or watching it on YouTube, we got Cameron Weddington on the phone today, and we're going to talk turkey hunting. And there's actually a lot of topics I wanted to talk with you about, Cameron, but we kind of just settled on the one I mentioned to you already, talking about how to find turkeys. I think it's a pretty fundamental topic here. As we were talking on the phone earlier this week, like you said, if you're not finding turkeys, you're not going to be able to shoot them. So,
yeah, that's step one, man. I mean, if you're hunting somewhere that does not have any turkeys, I don't care how good you call, how good your setup is, how good you can shoot your gun 1,000 yards. If there ain't no turkeys there, you ain't killing one. So,
yeah.
And on the other side of that, if you're one of the worst turkey hunters on earth, and you're in the woods and there's 20 gobblers in there with you, you might slip up, pretty easy.
True.
But that's step one for any turkey hunter is be in a place that has turkeys.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's definitely a topic worth going over.
Yeah. So let's try to handle this, I guess, in a chronological order. So starting at the very beginning. So let's say we're going to an area we've never been before. It doesn't matter where it is. I know you've been in pretty much all regions of the United States turkey hunting, but I feel like there's probably like certain variables, I guess, that should apply for just about every region you go to. Would you find that's the kind of a common theme?
Well, I guess, you're going to have the same variables, and it's regional type too, because, your eastern United States is very wooded, and then you get out west and it's more of a creek system that has woods along it and prairie, all out other than that. And then you get further west. I mean, some states, if you find a tree, you have found the roost,
Yeah.
There's not many trees. They don't have many options. And, and then, Texas, some areas, they literally I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard they'll roost on power line poles, anything they can find to get off the ground at night. But I guess if we're talking eastern turkeys, I guess we'll go with that first. And you're looking for, somewhere you've never been and it's forested. I mean, what I'm looking for, number one, well, I guess turkeys have to have 3 things. They got to eat, they got to drink, and they got to be able to roost off the ground. So pretty easy. 3 variables there. You got to have water, food, trees.
Mm-hmm.
So the food is going to be very dependent. If you're in a big agricultural state and there's a lot of fields and corn everywhere or food plots everywhere, that could be your food. If you're in the mountains and you could look, using maps to nowadays, I think Onyx even has a map for what type of trees are in there, or you can use Google Earth and kind of go find a winter picture on there. So on Google Earth, you can scroll back years. They like take different pictures throughout the years and find a wintertime picture. And using that, you can see, okay, this is still green. So those are pines. They don't lose their needles. They're still green. This all is brown, gray looking. Those are hardwoods. And so you could find that. But if you're looking, what gets tough is when it's like, here's a 30,000 acre national forest and it all looks the same,
Yeah.
where are the turkeys?
Mhm.
Yeah. And at that point, my mind goes to what are the most diverse areas within this landscape? Like, okay, here's 10,000 acres and it's all pine and that's it. Okay. There may be some in there. I don't know, but I've never been there. I'm probably not starting there. But over here on this section, there's a power line that runs through it. And that power line, stays cleaned out. It's thick, probably where hens could nest. There's some hardwoods next to it. There's pines on the other side of it. And then the forestry people did a clear cut over in that area. I've got really diverse habitat. Everything's there. And so that section, I'm thinking, that looks interesting. A turkey has nesting habitat, brooding habitat. Hens are going to gravitate to there, and gobblers are going to gravitate to where hens gravitate. So when I see that on a map, I'm more so drawn to those type areas. If you're looking at what I'm talking about, where it's a very, I guess, similar landscape across a big area, that's when it gets tough.
Yeah. So you're doing all this from home before you've even gone out into the field, just looking over maps and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, so I have killed a turkey in 26 states now, and I don't drive to, Minnesota, and I'm just using that as an example. I'm not saying it's like the greatest state on earth. I'm just saying I don't drive to Minnesota to go scout, the week before season.
Yeah, that's a drive.
Yeah, like I'm not going to go scout. So that's what I'm left with is mapping and using. I'm not sponsored by anyone. But I personally use Onyx. I know a lot of people enjoy it. There's other apps out there now, but I use Onyx, and then I still use Google Maps. Not Google Earth on my computer. You can download it to your computer and get mapping. It's like a software where you can go back in time. There's a little button at the top. I don't even know how to describe it, but you can go back and look at what that property looked like in 2019, 17, 07, even further. And when you do that, you can see like, oh crap, this is actually, this looks like it's woods, but this is actually like a 6-year-old clear cut that's grown back up. Like that's going to be a jungle,
Yeah.
Like no big woods in there, even though on the map it looks like, oh, this looks pretty good. But then you find out, that got clear cut in 2015. I'm probably not going to want to go there.
Yep.
And so, because you don't want to drive, 8 hours, show up one morning and you're standing in a bunch of trees that aren't as tall as you are for miles and think, there's no turkeys in here. So
that's a little discouraging.
You got to do some homework, and that's how I handle it. I mean, it's from home, and I usually, I could think of a lot of states where the first time I saw where I was standing is when daylight started coming on. Like I wasn't even there the afternoon before. Like I showed up, got out of the car, hopped out on a ridge, and here we go. All I know the map like, and that's honestly one of the most fun hunts to me, because you've done all this research for weeks. You've driven, back to the Minnesota example, drove 11 hours overnight, got there an hour before daylight, and then I'm standing on a ridge listening, and I hear a turkey gobble, and never been there in my life. Like that's so cool to me.
Yeah.
When you get there and that first gobble hits is the best part to me, because it's like, all right, I did it. I used technology to put myself where turkeys are without ever being here.
Yeah. And that's something we have today that's just, it's right there at your fingertips. And it's a different style of hunting almost. You can just do that. And I've been there and I've showed up to a spot before, and like when you hear that first turkey gobble, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a giant Easter egg hunt or something, like, and for adults, and you found one, without. It's one thing to go out and be able to scout for 2 weeks and find scratching and tracks or whatever, and there's a flock of turkeys in there. It's another thing to just show up blind and then,
this is like a rewarding feeling almost. Like for me personally,
absolutely.
even if I don't shoot something and I'm just hearing something gobbling and knowing that all that work paid off, that you're right, that you're in the game at least.
That's exactly it. You're in the game, and you put yourself in the game. I have never gone turkey hunting. Actually, I've probably never gone turkey hunting and had a bad time, but I've definitely never gone turkey hunting, heard a turkey gobble and thought, man, I wish I'd stayed in the bed this morning. I mean,
yep.
If I hear one gobbling and I get to play the game, and as soon as he gobbles, that means, strategy starts in my head and stuff, and I'm having a blast. Like, that's what I'm after, whether I kill him or not. That's just the cherry on top sometimes.
Absolutely. So one other thing that popped in my mind is we were talking about like pre-scouting, I guess you can say, or e-scouting. I think I've heard it called that before. Anyway, when we're talking about looking for spots to find turkeys with the diversity and everything like that, one thing I do, and I'm almost 100% positive you do as well, is you find multiple different places like that in a certain area. So you're not putting all your eggs in one basket and in one spot. So that way, if you show up to one spot, and there's nothing there, you got options.
Nothing there, or you show up and if it's public land, somebody's already parked at the gate.
Right.
And that's one thing I'd encourage anyone who's wanting to go turkey hunting. If you show up to a gate and someone's there, go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Have some etiquette. I think we're kind of losing that in today's turkey hunting world. I've had more people come in on me recently than ever. It sucks. Like, I hate when I don't want to do that to someone else. And so I hope people won't do that to me, but it happens, but yeah, you're exactly right. You want plan A, B, C, D, E. And that way, if you show up and people are sitting at A, B, and C, you can go to D or E. And that absolutely will happen. I had a guy, I parked all night at a gate. It was in a different state. I drove there and I parked at the gate, slept in my car all night. It was because it was before opening day. I knew people were going to be out. People drive up, they see my car go on. So I'm like, sweet, these people have some etiquette. I'm going to get to have my hunt in here. And I get out, load my gun. I'm about to start walking in. Dude pulls up, parks right next to me. It's like, well, guess I'll go talk to him. It's like, hey, man, what's your plan? He's like, I'm going right there and hunting that ridge. I was like, all right, well, that's where I was planning on heading. I slept here all night and been sitting here. So I was planning on going there. He's like, well, guess 2 of us will be on that ridge.
Wow.
It's like, I said, all right, man, it's 30,000 acres. I'll go find me another spot. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that should never happen, but it does, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like people. I mean, I think he was a local guy, and that's his spot. That's where he's going hunting, and so whatever. But that's why luckily, I had other spots marked on the map, so I went to another place and ended up having a pretty good hunt. I don't think I killed anything that morning, but I still got into some turkeys, so that was all you could ask for. But it was kind of frustrating. I'm like, man, if you can't sleep at the gate and win it, then there's no winning this place. Like,
true.
My gosh.
That's frustrating, though. Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yeah, no, seriously, don't be that guy. That happens a lot more than you think. So that echoes your point. Be prepared to move to a different area.
Yeah. Makes me think of the opening weekend of deer season here in Wisconsin. There's just people absolutely everywhere on every single ridge. You're basically surrounded. The deer don't have a chance.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I haven't ever, I don't think I've ever hunted public for deer, especially like rifle or anything. I've never done anything like that. So I can't imagine, because deer hunters are even more numerous, I'd say.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. At least here anyway, in Wisconsin. But
Yeah.
sometimes people are hard to avoid though. Especially if you're in an area that's more populated,
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have other people. I mean, if you're on public land, like, it's going to happen. And there's going to be a time when you accidentally up on somebody and you didn't even know they were in there, but y'all parked at different gates and ended up at the same place type thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen. But all you can do is just try to treat other hunters like you wish they would treat you, and that's how I look at it, kind of the golden rule deal. But if somebody else is already in there, my favorite's when it's like a block of woods that's public and it's like a couple hundred acres. It's not very big. And there's one gobbling turkey in there, and my car's obviously parked at the gate, and I'm in there hunting him, and then somebody comes in on me and they're like, "Oh man, I didn't know where you were in here." And I'm like, "Well, there's one turkey gobbling and I'm in here. Where do you think I am? Like, do you think I'm just off somewhere else hunting? Like, I'm not hunting the gobbling turkey? what do you think I'm doing?"
That's a pretty good indicator, I think.
Yeah. Let's see. Guy in the woods and there's one gobbling. Where is he? I bet he's going towards the gobbling turkey.
Yeah. Common sense.
Yeah, it's pretty easy in my mind, but apparently that's a hard concept for most. So
I guess.
we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you want to have multiple areas. You gotta, and I will say, out west is a totally different ball game. Like roosting trees are vital out there to finding turkeys. I mean, I've hunted some prairie type states where it's, they roost in this grove of trees and then they hit the ground and then they're just like out in the vastness of the prairie all day long, so it's just a different world. It's not like they're cruising through the woods or in an open field, just in one 10-acre field or something. Like, they can just go out into the middle of prairie and live, but then they got to roost. So the trees are, obviously something you got to find out there. And it kind of helps. Honestly, it makes it a little easier to find turkeys because it's like, okay, there's, one creek with trees along it. I bet if I walk that creek, eventually I'm going to find some droppings under a tree or run into a turkey, and I'll know right where they are. So that can really help you out west. It's just, you got to kind of shift gears and think trees are number one,
Yeah.
vital thing, not anything else.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never hunted out west. I'm hoping to go to New Mexico this spring.
Oh, nice. That'll be a beautiful state. I have not hunted there yet.
Yeah. But all I've hunted is, everything Wisconsin and the surrounding area so far, which is completely different, like just habitat wise and, even the different subspecies.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a whole different world. I mean, it's fun. Hunting eastern turkeys is like a battle. I mean, you're matching wits with very intelligent, hard hunted birds, and then you go out west and it's really fun. And like, I don't know, you don't have to grind quite as hard once you find the turkeys, in my opinion. They're typically less pressure. They are starting to get more pressured because everybody's figuring that deal out. So it's getting more and more difficult.
Yeah.
But usually they're a little more apt to gobbling, and so it makes, if they gobble a lot, it's a lot easier to keep tabs on a turkey that gobbles every 10 minutes compared to one that gobbles 3 times in the morning and never gobbles again.
Yeah, that's very true. It's easier to make a move on them if he can hear them.
Yeah, I mean, the more they gobble, the more prone they are to getting killed, in my opinion, because you know where he is through the whole hunt. Whereas when you don't know where he's going or what he's doing, it makes it a lot harder.
That's true.
So it's pretty good. I don't mean to flip the script on you here, but what do you think about Wisconsin? I've heard I don't know if it's like a senator or something up there. They're trying to change the turkey seasons up there. I don't know if you've heard that.
I haven't heard anything about that, actually.
Yeah. I talked to a biologist up there. So I'm so nuts about turkeys. The whole United States is my flock of turkeys. In my opinion. I want to check on them everywhere, but
yeah,
they're trying to, instead of, y'all have the staggered 1 week seasons that you draw. And then at the end, usually there's a lot of leftovers, and that's how y'all's usually works. They're trying to make it, I think, just 2 different seasons, like a beginning and an ending. I'd have to look into it, but they're trying to change a lot of stuff about y'all's seasons.
Interesting.
You may want to look into it, because if you don't like it, I'd be letting some people know you don't like it.
Well, I want to know what the reasons are before, like I said, I got to look into that first. But in my mind, that makes me feel like there's going to be less tags.
Yeah,
possibly.
And I think, like your biologist that I spoke with, she really likes y'all's current season structure, because y'all have maintained a really healthy turkey population in Wisconsin. Meanwhile, a lot of the rest of the U.S. is in a massive decline.
Mm-hmm.
So I think her point's kind of like, what we're doing is working.
Yeah.
Let's stick with it.
I like the way we do it right now.
Yeah, you stagger the pressure out, and you don't just come in and remove half the turkeys first week of season. Like you killing them all season long, it makes a lot of sense. You stagger it out.
Plus, there's a limited number of tags. Per
so they
region.
know it's a great regulation, in my opinion, because your DNR knows this is the maximum amount of turkeys in this region that will be killed this week, and there's no way it could be more.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas other states, it's not like that. It's like, all right, free for all. And it can get.
Because I started hunting in Wisconsin. That was my first place I ever hunted. And then I was looking at other states after a while because I wanted to hunt longer. And just looking at the other states, I was surprised. I was like, wait, you can buy a tag and hunt the entire season?
Mind blown.
Yeah. It's just different. I don't know.
I'll tell you what blew my mind was the first time I went to Florida. They're the only ones that have Osceola turkeys.
Yep.
And so you'd think they'd be very protective of their, they have a resource no one else has. So you'd think they'd be very protective. And so I killed one, and, I saw a guy. I was like, hey, man, where do I check this bird? And, I expected you had to have a golden tag wrapped around him and really they come examine the bird, like a bighorn sheep or something.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, no, you don't have to check them in. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you just go home. I was like, I don't not even online. I don't let anybody know I killed this turkey.
So there's no harvest report whatsoever.
None on the only state that has these things, and they don't know how many are being killed.
That's surprising and a little concerning, actually, because a lot of people hunt Florida.
Do what?
A lot of people hunt Florida every year because, like you said, it's the only place you can get Osceolas.
Only place you can get Osceolas, and the first place you can go hunt in the U.S. So, other than I guess Hawaii, but that's a little more cost prohibitive.
Right. Florida is much more manageable.
Yeah, I think they are trying to change that regulation this year. I saw it in a proposal for starting in 23, maybe having an online reporting system. That I just couldn't believe it. I was like, y'all are behind the times down here. Y'all need to know what the deal is. All right, here's our harvest for the year.
Yeah, no kidding. How many turkeys are dying every season?
Yeah, how many do we have left? We're the only ones that have these. If we lose them, they're gone from the earth.
Yeah, no kidding. It's gonna be too late by the time you figure that out.
Yeah, I was just shocked, because then you go to other states, where you have to have a hunter safety course before you go. You have to put a sticker on your gun saying you're going to shoot safe. And then you got to tag your bird, take him to the check station, have him weighed, measured, all this stuff.
Yep.
Like they're taking all this data. It's so interesting how different areas of the country are handling things to me.
Yeah.
But sorry to get on that tangent. If you like Florida or I guess here's where it gets really, for finding turkeys, where it gets very difficult, is Florida or if you want to hunt like swampland for turkeys, it gets very hard.
I suppose it's all very
opinion.
Much the same, all flat, just swamp.
If you're trying to e-scout, that's tough, because if it's just a huge swamp, cypress trees, it's going to be all hardwoods in a swamp, and usually there's not like fields or any kind of different types of terrain in there. Like it's all one big conglomerate that looks the same. That's when it gets really difficult to just show up and be on turkeys. I feel like hill country is a lot easier to look at and deduct that this might have turkeys, this might not, that kind of thing. So that, I would say, like, people who go to Florida, it's kind of humbling, because you look at the map and you're like, okay, I can hunt 100,000 acres here, and it all looks identical. So,
right.
I know when I went, there's not really, like, I tried to e-scout, but then I was like, this is impossible. Like, all I can do is find roads, I guess, to go down, but like, it was more of you just got to literally cover miles and miles and miles till you hit turkey sign or find turkeys, and then you're in the ball game. But
yeah,
that's a real equal, like, it's kind of fun though, because it's like going back in time before all this e-scouting and stuff, where you have to use boots on the ground to find turkeys
the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, which sometimes is a good thing.
Yeah, and that's actually a great way to learn about turkeys. It takes a little bit longer to figure them out that way, I think, because that's how I started turkey hunting, because I didn't have a clue what I was doing.
Oh yeah,
I was just going out there trying to find them, and it was awful. But you learn about them. I think it's a great way to get better at it. But
yeah, you gotta. I will say, so I like to fall turkey hunt as well, and I'll say specifically fall gobbler hunt, which is a very tough task. But if you go in the fall, your woodsmanship and being able to interpret turkey sign increases dramatically. I've gotten significantly better at that. Used to be like, oh, cool, there's some tracks, and I'd keep walking. Now I'm like, here's some tracks. What do they tell me? What size are these? Is this a gobbler hen, Jake? What do we got here? Why were they headed this way? And that's how you have to hunt in the fall. You have to learn the turkeys based on sign you see on the ground, not by, I'm going to go sit here and wait till one gobbles and go hunting, because they're not really gobbling.
And they're not as responsive to calling during the fall, aren't they?
They can be, not with gobbles and stuff. It's interesting, the way I hunt them is like a challenge. Like, I'm a new gobbler on the block deal, and I'm kind of you're either getting them to come to you by curiosity or angering them into wanting to fight you. And so that's pretty much your two options. Or a lot of people scatter and recall, once they find them. It may take me a week to find a group of gobblers of going every day. And the last thing I want to do when I finally find them is run in amongst them and scatter them to high heavens. So I usually just try to call them, by curiosity or staging a fight type thing. But it makes you a better hunter, I will say, because if you can find and learn a gobbler without using any gobbles, you're doing something. You know what I mean? It's you think about how much you rely on the turkey gobbling to learn what he's doing in the spring, and then take that away and try to learn that turkey.
That's almost a completely different game.
it is a whole different ball game because, when he's gobbling, it's like, okay, he's here. Okay, he went that way, and he does that 2 or 3 days in a row. And you're like, okay, so every day he flies down, he goes and walks this road, goes out to that food plot based on what you heard. Well, you got to learn that without hearing him in the fall. So, and you got to do that by using sign. So that really helps with your woodsmanship, I'd say.
I suppose you don't have a choice. You either figure it out or you go home turkeyless.
That's it. And fall gobbler, like spring season's made for killing gobblers. Like that's when you go kill a bunch of them. But fall, like my goal, if I can kill one gobbler every fall, I feel like a legend. Like it is. It is so difficult, and I have 3 years in a row I've gotten my fall gobbler, which is that is no easy task. So I'm like more proud of that than anything, I think.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and did it. I guess if you just go like sit on a food plot and deer hunt one and whack him when he walks out there to eat, that's not quite as impressive, I guess, in my book. But I actually went and called and learned them, and like I hunted them like spring, I guess, and still got them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, finding turkeys definitely. Earl Mickle. I don't know if you ever heard of him. I just finished his book. He killed a wild turkey in every state of the United States, other than Alaska, and used a call from that state to kill a turkey in that state. So that's pretty cool. And he, in his book I just read, said a quality place to hunt is the number one factor to successful turkey hunting. And I think that's it.
Mm-hmm.
He's dead on. And so that book is called Longbeards, Call Makers, and Memories by Earl Mickle. So it's pretty good. It's a cool book. But and a cool concept he came up with. Like he would go and then some guy would build a call for him out in whatever state, and then he'd use it to harvest a turkey.
Yeah, that's pretty unique.
Yeah,
I would never have thought of doing that.
Yeah, pretty cool deal. And all type of mouth, regular diaphragm calls or slate calls, box calls, scratch boxes. He used all kind of stuff.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know you're a pretty big reader, especially in turkey stuff.
Oh yeah, I just bought out a whole collection. So I don't know how many books I have right now, but I probably got close to 100 at least, and then I just bought an additional 150 something turkey books. My library is expanding.
That sounds
and
like
I bought a big magazine collection too. So
yeah.
I just love it. I love the books. Like, I'm kind of a weird guy, I guess, anyway, and you kind of have to be this obsessed with turkeys. But I don't really watch turkey hunting much, and I don't, whatever. Like that's cool. I love reading about it, and for some reason, I don't even like reading. Like, to be honest, I don't read anything else. But turkey hunting books really, I don't know. The written word of it puts you feel like you're in the situation with the person, and they were fully observant of it because they weren't like fooling with a camera or anything. Like they just lived it and then wrote down what they saw.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's pretty cool. I don't know. I really like the literature surrounding the sport.
Yeah, I'd like to get more reading in that stuff too. I'm like you. I'm not a reader.
Yeah,
but
I'm telling you, I'm not either. But once and now, obviously there's really good books, some that are good, and then some that are like, okay, I don't know if I want to finish this one, but,
mm-hmm.
And that's going to be in any category, but they're cool. I don't know. It's especially some of the older ones when you're reading like how things were back in the 90s or 80s or before. It's pretty neat reading about turkeys then. And so
that was back before everybody was toting a camera around.
Yeah. I mean, a book back then coming out was a huge deal because you didn't talk about turkeys. Like, if you saw or heard one that season, it was a good season, and you didn't tell anyone. Like, you took that information to your grave that you heard a turkey on that ridge. And now it's just so open,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's here I am in this WMA, and I'm going to video me going over here and shooting a turkey,
Yeah.
It's so loose with information, and it's just funny reading the old timers, how, most of their books always start out with like something along the lines of like, we don't really share information, but before I die, I decided to make this book, and tell some stories. And it's fun stuff. I like it. And then you see like the evolution of it all when turkeys come back, and then everybody's like hammering them. And there's a lot of good books released these days that people are writing that are good and interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something to look into for sure.
Yeah. If anybody has any want of a turkey book and wants a recommendation, feel free to reach out to me. I will hook you up. I'm probably about to sell some of them, because after this, I get this collection, and I have quite a few books. I have like 3 or 4 copies of the same book. I need to sell those so I can buy new ones.
There you go. Just keep your books flowing through your bookshelf there.
Yeah. I know. I'm about to build a new bookshelf. This one's about full.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Gotta expand operations.
Yeah,
but
for sure. Hey, I got another question for you.
Go for it.
Related to finding turkeys. We've got about 10 more minutes here. We can talk.
Sweet.
So we've already covered e-scouting and looking at maps and stuff when you're at home before you even get to the location you're hunting. So when you actually get there and you get boots on the ground, gun in hand, you're ready to get out there and hunt. Do you have any strategies that you use once you get on to the actual location to locate turkeys?
Yeah, I mean, your best shot at it's going to be daylight. You get out there and try to hit wherever you think this block looks like it should have turkeys. Where can I get in here where I can hear the most of it? And one thing a lot of people don't talk about is the wind direction and hearing turkeys. And to me, if the wind is blowing towards you, like in your face, you're going to be able to hear a long ways that way. But if the wind is blowing from your back towards where you're trying to listen, you can't hear very far at all. Like, I promise you, it's amazing. And so, because we figured that out duck hunting. So our neighbors duck hunt, we duck hunt, and the wind, when it's blowing towards us from their blind, it literally sounds like they're sitting 100 yards from us blazing away. And then the wind swirled the next day and was blowing from us to them, and we texted them like, "Hey, y'all not hunting today?" And they're like, "Yeah, we're wearing them out." We couldn't even hear their gunshots.
Wow.
It was wild. And to me, my craziness, I always think, how does this relate to turkeys? Pretty much with everything in life. And I thought, man, if one was gobbling out there and the wind's blowing towards me, he's going to sound like he's right here. If it was blowing from me to him, I wouldn't even hear him. And so if you have a spot that you think, all right, I've scouted, here's where I think if I was a turkey, I would roost, or where I'd be, you want to be downwind of it, where the wind is blowing towards you from that area, because then you can hear it. And if you do the opposite, you just go in there and, well, this is the highest spot, I'm going to stand here. A lot of people do that. Like, oh, I'll get the highest I can, and that'll fix that. You will only hear what's downwind, where the wind is coming from towards you. And there may be one screaming, 300 yards out there, but the wind's blowing towards him and you don't even hear him. And I've found that to be actually a big deal. So what I would do is show up and, I've decided, I guess, through e-scout, a lot of this is hypothetical, I guess, but I've decided through e-scouting, like, all right, if I was a turkey, I'd probably be roosted along this creek. And so I want to get where the wind's blowing towards me from that area. And at that point, get as high as I can. I mean, you don't want to be in like down at the bottom listening. You want to be up high as much as possible if it's hill country, and listen, and then If you hear one gobble, game on. If you don't, time to start moving. And if I don't hear one gobble pretty quick, I mean, when and you learn that through experience, I guess, like, all right, one should have gobbled by now if he was here,
Mm-hmm.
And there's exceptions to that. I've had it happen before where nothing's gobbling, then, an hour after daylight, one's ripping it right there. But for the most part, they're going to gobble a couple times on the roost. And so if I know one should have gobbled by now, I will literally, like, if nothing has happened, I will try to cover an insane amount of ground really fast and get to where I think another roosting area might be to listen to it before they fly down. And that's because if you can hear a gobble in that first 30 minutes of daylight, your first morning there, that's huge. You are now on a turkey. Like, his whereabouts and you're in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you hear nothing, you got to go start walking around till you find a track or some scratching or whatever. And who knows if that turkey got shot yesterday by Joe down the road. But if you hear one gobble, there's a living, breathing wild gobbler in there. So what I usually try to do is, like, if I'm on a ridge line, I try to pick a good long one. I'll listen off on this side to where I think they're going to be. If nothing's there, I will quite literally be, like, jogging down the ridge for several hundred yards, 500, 600 yards, stop again, catch my breath, let out some owl hoots, anything I can do to try to just get a gobble that first 30 minutes. That's huge.
Mm.
And if that doesn't work and you don't hear anything anywhere, it's time. I usually at that point slow it down, just start working areas that look like turkey should be in, doing some soft calling, step it up every now and then, see if I can get a shot gobble, and just be looking at the ground and looking for sign. Because most people walk around looking for turkeys through the woods, and I'm like, if you think you're going to see them, they saw you hundreds of yards ago.
Yep, that's absolute fact.
It is very seldom. I mean, maybe I'm just the elephant walking through the woods, but it's very seldom I'm walking through the woods and I catch a turkey's movement before they've caught me. I don't think it's honestly ever happened. So
yeah, you've gotten lucky if that's happened.
Yeah. So look at the ground and read that, not look ahead.
Yeah.
For turkeys.
And then that's probably a whole nother topic you can get into, is like you've been mentioning places where turkeys should be. And we don't have enough time to really talk about that today. But I was going to ask you another question. You mentioned owl hooting. I was going to ask you, did you use any kind of locator calls or anything like that?
Sorry, say that one more time.
Do you use any kind of locator calls or anything like that to get the shot gobble?
Oh yeah. So natural voice. I can do an owl and crow, and so I use that owls early morning, and I'll throw an owl out there even late morning. Sometimes I've heard owls late morning, but I'll usually swap to the crow about 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever. Once it's on up in the day and the owls have stopped their serenade, but yeah, and then sometimes try to get them a shot gobble with some hen cutting or whatever. You're not even really trying to call one to you. You're just trying to get a gobble out of him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I use natural voice for owl and crow.
Okay.
Yeah. People kind of freak out when I do the natural voice crow. That one kind of gets, nobody's expecting that one. Everybody usually has a crow call with them.
Yeah. Does it at least sound like a crow though?
Yeah, I've had some really good reviews of it, I'd say. Usually people, and I'm not like bragging or anything, but I usually, if I start doing it, will call up 10, 15 crows. So I figure that's a good sign.
Yeah, there you go. Then you can just let them do the calling for you.
Yeah, I don't know what I say to them, but it ticks them off, man. They come swarming around and they start going nuts. And then, you got a whole flurry of crow calls going, but
yeah.
It works good. It's a good trick to have for slow days duck hunting. You can turn it into a really good crow hunt.
There you go.
And, because if you take a guest and you're not shooting any ducks, I can at least start going nuts with my voice and call up all the crows, and then they can shoot something.
Nice. That's funny.
Yeah, but yeah, I do. The only state I don't think Hawaii has any owls, so you can leave the owl hooter at home there.
I suppose you want to try to keep it as natural as possible.
Yeah, they probably not gonna shot gobble. I mean, maybe they would at your owl, but it'll be the first one they've ever heard. So
yeah. All right. Well, Cameron, I think we're coming up on our time limit here.
Absolutely, man. Well, I sure appreciate you having me. I've enjoyed it. Always fun talking with you, and hope you have a good family deal this weekend.
Thanks. I appreciate that, and good luck with your trapping. And hopefully you can get those, at least the critter numbers down.
I'm trying. I mean, that's it, man. If you catch all the predators, turkeys could raise their young on a football field. They wouldn't even need any cover. But
yeah,
if you can improve the habitat and catch a bunch of the predators, you can produce a lot of turkeys. And people need to focus a lot more on that than just killing them. It's a full deal.
Yep.
If we keep producing turkeys, there'll be plenty to kill. But a lot of people are getting focused on the hunting portion. February and March is time to help the turkeys, and then you start hunting them.
Yep. It's all about that management.
Absolutely. Well, good deal, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So you're just real quick, so everybody understands, you can be found on Instagram, right?
Yeah. So I have Instagram. My username, kind of funny. It's the Gob Father, GOB Father 49, and you can find me on there. And then we also have a turkey podcast. If you need more turkey talk, it's called the Turkey Hunter Podcast, and you can listen to some episodes there. And I have a co-host on there, and we talk to guests and stuff similar to this, and talk turkeys year round. So welcome to join us there, or check me out on Instagram. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I always try to respond, sometimes not quickly, but I always try to get back to folks. And, especially if you want a book recommendation, I can hook you up.
There you go. Perfect. All right. Thanks again, man. And we'll talk to you soon, hopefully.
All right, bud. See ya.